Hello all. Our today's topic is respiratory system from chapter Introduction to Infectious Diseases from Medical Microbiology MB331 for T.Y.B.Sc class. In this, first we'll see anatomy and physiology, common diseases of respiratory system, pathogens, symptoms and defense mechanism. In detail about infectious diseases. What are infectious diseases? These are nothing but disorders that are caused by various microorganisms like bacteria, fungi, protozoa as well as viruses, which are passed directly or indirectly from one person to another. There are several types of zoonotic infections, that is, animals serve as a reservoir. They transmit microorganisms from animals to human beings. Anatomy and physiology of respiratory system. Respiratory system is situated in the thorax. It is divided into two sections, upper respiratory tract and lower respiratory tract. The major passages and structures of upper respiratory tract include the nose, nasal cavity, mouth, pharynx as well as the larynx. Pharynx is also called as a throat and larynx, that is voice box. The respiratory system is lined with mucous membrane that secrete mucus, which traps microorganisms which are present with dust particles in the air. The major passages and structures of the lower respiratory tract include the windpipe, that is trachea, and within the lungs there is bronchi, bronchioles and alveoli. They are deeply situated in the lungs and each bronchus divides into secondary and tertiary bronchi, which continue to branch to smaller airways called as the bronchioles. Now we'll see functions of respiratory system. Through breathing, inhalation and exhalation, the respiratory system facilitates the exchange of gases between the air and the blood and between the blood and the body cells. The bloodstream delivers oxygen to cells and removes waste carbon dioxide through internal respiration. Not only this, there are gaseous exchange in the blood, as there are millions of alveoli in each lung, which provide maximum area or a massive surface area for exchange to occur. With that, there is another function of smelling or olfaction. Phonation is another function of respiratory tract where the creation of a sound by structures in the upper respiratory tract of the respiratory system. There are various ways of a defense mechanism. Some are of a upper respiratory tract and some are of a lower airway. In the nasal cavity, hairs are present. With hairs and mucus, which is secreted from mucous membrane, they trap small particles. Coughing and sneezing also removes large number of microorganisms which enter with air in the respiratory system. Glottis controls airflow in and out. Maintenance of oropharyngeal flora plays important role in defense mechanism. This is normal commensals, normal microbiota of respiratory tract. In this, organisms like Peptostreptococcus viridans as well as the streptococci, they are included. Saliva, which is mainly present in mouth, contain lysozyme and it is responsible for lysis of variety of microorganisms. Certain antibodies like IgA antibodies, immunoglobulins, they also neutralizes number of microorganisms present in the respiratory tract. In defense mechanism of lower respiratory system, branching airways itself is one type of a defense mechanism. Second to it is a mucociliary escalator. The cilia, which are lined in respiratory system, which are tiny muscular hair-like projections on the cells that line in the airway, they propel a liquid layer of mucus that covers the airways, which traps microorganisms as well as not allow settlement of majority of pathogens in the respiratory tract. Alveolar lining fluid containing free fatty acids, lysozyme, IgG-like antibodies, they also help in the defense mechanism of a respiratory system. Not only this, there is a cell-mediated immunity where macrophages, polymorphonuclear cells, lymphocytes play important role. Now we'll see in detail microbial diseases of upper respiratory system. First disease is bacterial disease called as a streptococcal pharyngitis or a strep throat. This organism is gram-positive cocci-shaped organism present in chains, and here beta-hemolytic streptococci, the Streptococcus pyogenes, this causes infection of a pharynx where symptoms are mild grade fever, tonsillitis as well as a otitis media. Tonsillitis is nothing but an inflammation of a tonsils where there is a reddening, that is erythema, as well as a edema, that is swelling of the tonsils. While in case of a otitis media, it is nothing but an infection of a middle ear, which is highly painful condition. Next disease is by Streptococcus pyogenes, and here name of disease is scarlet fever. This organism, which is gram-positive cocci-shaped organism present in chains, produces erythrogenic toxin, because of which there is a high-grade fever as well as a pinkish red colored skin rash all over the body. Not only skin but tongue also affected, and here spotted tongue, which is strawberry-like in appearance, which loses its upper membrane in the later stages where there is a oozing of a blood, so it becomes very red and enlarged. One more symptom because of this erythrogenic toxin is peeling of skin. Next bacterial disease is diphtheria caused by Corynebacterium diphtheri, where this organism produces one pseudomembrane in the throat region, which is grayish colored membrane or a false membrane as a response to infection, and here because of which there is a suffocation, mild fever as well as a malaise is observed in the patient. There is swelling of neck and difficulty in inhalation and exhalation. Next disease is otitis media. Staphylococcus aureus is causative agent of it. With that, in 35% causes of otitis media is Streptococcus pneumoniae. Then beta-hemolytic streptococci, Haemophilus influenzae, Moraxella catarrhalis are some other causative agents of this otitis media. Here symptoms, as there is growth of organism in middle ear, there is an injury to eardrum, and also some microorganisms like Staphylococcus aureus, they are pyogenic in nature, they produce pus which built up pressure against the eardrum. Again, this is a highly painful condition. So after this, upper respiratory tract infection by viruses, and here example of common cold is included. As you know, for the common cold, rhinoviruses, they are majority of the times work as a causative agent. Second to it is a coronaviruses. As you know, nowadays coronaviruses not only restricted to upper respiratory tract, but also they causes infection of a lower respiratory tract. So 15 to 20% infections of a upper respiratory tract caused by coronaviruses. Symptoms are there is sneezing, excessive nasal secretion which is watery, congestion, complication of laryngitis as well as otitis media. Here laryngitis, that is inflammation of a voice box. Now the second category, that is microbial diseases of lower respiratory system. In that, first we will see bacterial diseases. First disease which is included in this category is whooping cough or pertussis caused by Bordetella pertussis. In the initial stage, whatever symptoms produced by this organism, it resembles a common cold. There are prolonged seizures of coughing, and infected person desperately attempts to cough up mucus accumulations. This results in violent coughing and also in broken ribs. Especially in children, broken ribs is characteristic symptom of a whooping cough. There is a gasping for air between coughs which causes a typical whooping sound, and so name given to the disease whooping cough. Next and very important disease of respiratory tract is tuberculosis. Here, number of species of genus Mycobacterium, they causes this tuberculosis. First example is of a Mycobacterium tuberculosis and second one is a Mycobacterium bovis. This is of an animal origin, so also called as a bovine tuberculosis. Here symptoms in case of a TB, there is a continuous cough lasting more than 2 weeks, as well as there is a febrile illness, that is a low grade fever in the initial stages. In the later stages, in the cough blood is present. This is called as a blood stained sputum, which is again characteristic symptom of a TB. There is night sweat, chest pain, as well as loss of weight. Now, in the lower respiratory tract infection, one important category we have to consider, that is pneumonia. And first, bacterial pneumonia. In that, name of disease pneumococcal pneumonia caused by Streptococcus pneumoniae. Here, there is an involvement of a bronchi as well as a alveoli, which are deeply situated, and because of which there is a difficulty in breathing, there is a febrile illness, that is fever, as well as a chest pain. In the later stages, color of cough is rusty. Second pneumonia is by Haemophilus influenzae. Haemophilus influenzae pneumonia is name of organism, and again typical symptom of a pneumonia, that is high grade fever, difficulty in breathing, chest pain, as well as the presence of a blood in the cough of a patient. Next to it is a pneumonia by Mycoplasma. So here name of causative agent Mycoplasma pneumoniae. This organism lacks cell wall, and here to the disease name given Mycoplasmal pneumonia. Symptoms are milder than the previous one, that is by Haemophilus influenzae as well as by other microorganisms like Klebsiella, Pseudomonas, etc. But here these symptoms persist for 3 weeks or longer. Next disease, Klebsiella pneumonia caused by Klebsiella pneumoniae. Here there are chills, fever, chest pain as well as a cough. Next disease is legionellosis caused by Legionella pneumophila. The disease is characterized by high grade fever, that is up to 41 degrees Celsius. Other bacterial pneumonia category is also included here, where there are complications because of infection by Staphylococcus aureus, Mycoplasma catarrhalis as well as Pseudomonas species, especially Pseudomonas aeruginosa causes this bacterial pneumonia. Whatever the general symptoms of a pneumonia, including fever, chest pain, difficulty in breathing, etc., with cough are symptoms in case of this pneumonia. Third category is rickettsial diseases of lower respiratory system. Rickettsia is pathogen or organism which is having some characteristics of bacteria, that is they are gram-negative small rod-shaped organism, while some characteristics are like viruses, that is they require living media for their growth. Name of disease caused by first rickettsia chlamydia pneumoniae is chlamydial pneumonia. This clinically resembles mycoplasmal pneumonia, that is milder form of infection. Second rickettsia is chlamydia psittaci. Name of disease is psittacosis or ornithosis. Ornith, that is avian or a bird category, as this organism is present in birds, or birds serve as a reservoir of this rickettsia, name given to the disease ornithosis. Here symptoms are of a pneumonia, or sometimes there is a subclinical infections. Stress appears to enhance susceptibility to the disease. There is a disorientation as well as a delirium is observed in the patient. That is, here the person suffering from this infection unable to understand, that is delirium. Next disease is Q fever by Coxiella burnetii. It is most serious complication of a Q fever is endocarditis, that is inflammation of a endocardium. This occurs in about 10% of cases suffering from infection. Fever, chills, chest pain, as well as a severe headache are other symptoms of a Q fever. This disease is rarely fatal. This one is again zoonotic type of a disease, that is transmitted from animals to human being. This rickettsia Coxiella burnetii may present in the contaminated milk. Next category after rickettsial infections of a respiratory system, viral diseases of lower respiratory system. Common cold is example of a viral disease of upper respiratory tract. Here lower respiratory system we have to consider. Again, viral pneumonia category is broad category because number of enteric viruses as well as some other viruses, you can take example of a corona, they causes such a type of pneumonia in the patient. Measles virus, influenza virus as well as a chickenpox virus, they also involved in this type of a pneumonic condition. Next viral infection is by paramyxovirus, and here to the disease name given respiratory syncytial virus infection. This one commonly observed in infants. Coughing, sneezing, which lasts for more than 1 week is symptom of it. There is a low to high grade fever with runny nose, that is watery secretions from nostrils. Mortality rate is quite high, that is from 1 to 2%. Next and important disease of lower respiratory tract is influenza, commonly called as a flu, caused by orthomyxoviruses. There are chills, fever, headache, general muscular ache commonly observed during flu. Recovery normally occurs in few days. Here up to 7 to 8 days required for recovery, and cold-like symptoms appear as fever subsides. Next category is of a hantavirus, and name of disease hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. Majority of symptoms during the infection by hantavirus are like severe cold or influenza, while in person having better immunity, milder form of infection may observe. Some symptoms are like coronavirus infection, that is, here there is accumulation of a fluid in the lungs. Here that fluids leaking from the lung capillary system literally drowning the victim. Again, it is severe or a serious infection of a respiratory tract. Next category is of a fungal diseases of lower respiratory system. Here, first organism fungi, that is Coccidioides immitis. Name of disease is coccidioidomycosis, where there is a fever, coughing, chest pain, loss of weight, as well as a myalgia, that is pain in joints. Here, some symptoms are like tuberculosis. Recovery may occur in few weeks upon development of immunity in the patient. Next fungal infection is by Histoplasma capsulatum. This is also called as a dimorphic fungus, as it shows two types of a morphology. When they present in the body, at that time they may appear in the yeast form. This is in vivo condition, and in vitro condition, that is in the laboratory, they show their filamentous form, mycelial form. So it is called as a dimorphic fungus. Name of disease is histoplasmosis. It causes lung infection, where there is a formation of a lesions in almost all organs of the body in the later stage. Mild respiratory symptoms, which as well as there is a fever, chest pain, and a cough formation. Next fungal disease is blastomyces dermatitis, caused by this organism, and name of disease is blastomycosis. It is a symptomatic type of infection which begins in the lungs, and here cutaneous ulcer is characteristic symptom of a blastomycosis. There are number of abscesses, extensive abscesses are formed on the body. Here involvement of a skin is unique characteristic. Lastly, aspergillosis. Number of species of aspergillus, in that Aspergillus fumigatus, Aspergillus niger, Aspergillus flavus are included. As this fungi, which is mold, grow in respiratory tract and form cottony growth, there is a blockage of a bronchi, which leads to a symptom of a asthma in the patient. This is pulmonary aspergillosis. Then protozoal diseases of a lower respiratory system. Here causative agent Pneumocystis carinii. This organism is found in healthy human lungs, but it causes disease among immunosuppressed patient. That is, the patient suffering from HIV or a person having some malignancies for which requirement of a drugs for the immunosuppression. Name of disease is Pneumocystis pneumonia, where it is a symptomatic lung infection, destruction of a tissues, and like the first the blastomycosis, there is a cutaneous lesion or a abscess formation. So in this way, this is a study of respiratory system. As you know, nose, mouth, throat, voice box, windpipe, airways, these are parts of respiratory system. Respiratory tract diseases are diseases that affect the air passages, including the nasal passages, the bronchi, and the lungs. Variety of microorganisms cause infections of respiratory tract. In that, bacteria are included, fungi, viruses, as well as some protozoa. This is all about respiratory system. Thank you all.